Hello everyone, this is Erik, the Asian movie enthusiast. Now given the fact that we have a Hollywood movie, Godzilla vs. Kong, coming out soon, I figured that it was about time that I reviewed every Godzilla film. And I've always wanted to do it on this channel, and it makes sense to do it in conjunction with a new Godzilla movie coming out. And after this next one, we're not really sure when the next one's going to come out after that. So it's about time I did this. It's now or never. So this video is going to serve as an introduction, basically, to this little project that I'm doing. Now I'm going to review every single live-action Godzilla film, including the Hollywood ones, in chronological order, as usual, because I'm obsessed with chronological order, over the course of probably four big videos. Showa era will take 2 videos to do. Then I'll cover the Heisei area, hopefully in 1 video. And then finally, I'll review the Millennium Era and the Hollywood Era in the final video. Now, if you're interested in purchasing the Godzilla films on physical media, I do have a few videos on this channel that already speak to that. I did a video on the Criterion Collection Showa Era Blu-ray set. And then I also did a Godzilla Mega Haul video that discusses a bunch of the DVD releases. And I think those videos should be helpful for you. So I'll link those in the description box below. There are some other resources that I have as well. I purchased 3 books over the course of the last half year or so, and I'll show those to you now. If you're interested in Godzilla films, these are pretty good pickups here. So we have the official Godzilla Compendium from J.D. Lees and Mark Ciracini. Now this one, I actually was fortunate. I got this used, and it was still a little bit on the expensive side used. This is out of print, but it's still the only, let me read this here, it's the only American compendium, at least one that's published in America, that was actually published with the cooperation of Toho. So Toho approves this, which is kind of a rarity, apparently. So it's, so this is kind of a big one. It's not that long of a book. It's only 150 pages long, 140 pages long, but it goes through a bunch of the movies. It has a bunch of official statistics for all of the monsters. You got some colored posters in here. And, this is pretty cool. I haven't had a chance to go through all of it yet. But it's, this has a ton of illustrations and official facts for a bunch of the films. And this one was published, I'm not sure what year, but let me look at the table of contents and see. So this one covers through the Heisei era, Godzilla vs. Destroyer. So it doesn't cover anything newer than that, but still, this just looking through it and reading what I have read, this is a pretty sweet book, but it's probably the most expensive of the ones that I'm showing you here. Another one is A Critical History and Filmography of Toho's Godzilla series from David Kalat, and he's done a few commentaries over the years on the DVD releases. Now, this is not officially sanctioned by Toho, because every time somebody writes a movie about Godzilla films, they have to include a disclaimer on the front cover, because this is Toho we're dealing with, and they're extremely, fidgety with regard to copyright. So, it says, Godzilla is a registered trademark of Toho, and, I'm not affiliated with or registered or licensed by Toho, and all references are just for informational purposes. So you have to include this disclaimer on your book if you're not officially sanctioned by Toho, and you're not allowed to put any screenshots in your book either. This is how Toho does things, and it's kind of annoying. This guy wrote a freaking, how long is this book? It's a 250-page book about your movies, and you won't even allow him to put pictures of the movies in his book. So that's what we're dealing with Toho. But regardless, I've skimmed through this. I've read some chapters, but not all of them yet. But from what I have read, this is very interesting stuff. A lot of behind-the-scenes kind of stuff on the production of a lot of these movies. And this book goes all the way through the Millennium Era. It goes all the way through Godzilla Final Wars. So this has some extra info that the other official compendium will not have. And again, this goes into a lot of the production. This is a good book from what I've seen so far. And then finally, a book that I've only kind of cracked into a little bit is Japan's Favorite Monstar by Steve Rifle, who's also done some commentaries. And again, there must be... Oh, is there a disclaimer on this? Oh, yeah. There's a disclaimer right on the top. This book was not prepared, approved, licensed, or endorsed by any entity involved in creating or producing any Godzilla movie. I'm not associated with them, including Toho. I'm not associated. So it's kind of stupid. You know what I mean? And of course, there's no pictures of the movies in this book. But again, from what I've read, this has a lot of behind-the-scenes stuff going on here too. A lot of it, and this book's massive. You're talking 350 plus pages. There's a lot of info in this. And this book goes through... What movie does it go through here? Goes through Destroya again. I think it might only go through Destroya as well. So... Or does it? Yeah, it looks like it. So, regardless, if you're interested in definitely all of the Japanese Godzilla films, definitely check some of these books out. And I still have to chew through the rest of what I haven't read yet. So those are some pretty solid resources there for you. I also want to do a few other Godzilla-themed videos, maybe in the next few months after I'm done actually reviewing all the movies. I'm going to attempt to rank all of the movies in order of pure entertainment value, and that will be a somewhat controversial list, I'm sure, but I still want to do it. And then the other thing I want to do, which I've always wanted to do but I've never done, is I want to calculate how long Godzilla shows up in his movies. I think those stats should be, helpful and put some things into perspective. Like, for example, it's something that's brought up a lot in the recent ones, especially Godzilla 2014 and Shin Godzilla, which seemingly don't really have him show up much in those movies. But really, how do they stack up against the rest of the franchise in terms of the actual screen time and battle time that Godzilla has in it? Because I really don't know. They seem to be on the lower end. Are they really? I have no idea, because people don't really measure this type of thing. So, people reference it a lot, but, I'd like to actually measure it and see how it stacks up. Is it actually true, right, that they're on the lower end? Now, I did find one analysis online where someone actually timed Godzilla's screen time in every movie. Some of the numbers look accurate, but some of them seem way off to me. I'm not sure how they went about it, really. But, and this is especially true regarding the battle time involving Godzilla, and that's the one that I really want to measure. So here's my strategy. This is how I'm going to do it. I may tweak this if I redo this in the future, but I think this is sufficient for a first attempt. I'm actually using a stopwatch, a Godzilla green stopwatch, actually. So I'll be using that for accuracy. Anytime Godzilla's on screen, the watch continues to run, but even something this simple is subjective, right? What if they only show Godzilla's foot in a shot, or his tail in a shot? Should the watch keep running on his screen time count? It's debatable. In my opinion, I don't think so. You know what I mean? The same is true in cases where Godzilla is obscured by weather effects, or fog, or smoke. If you can't even see him well, it doesn't count as screen time, in my opinion. So, at the very least, you got to show his head clearly or most of his body, and that's how I'm doing that. But what about, the battle time? So the battle time, remember, I'm measuring the amount of time Godzilla is engaged in battle, specifically. So there's a little bit more leeway here, and flexibility to this. So, for example, you see Godzilla stomping around, and then the camera cuts to a tank, and it shoots at him. The watch keeps running. Okay, because the tank is actively engaged in battle against Godzilla. The same is true for planes and other high-tech weaponry. For the destruction scenes, I'm being more flexible again. We see Godzilla stomping around, and let's say the camera cuts to a building and it's crashing to the ground because of, he's stomping near it or on it, or his atomic breath hits it. The watch keeps running. It keeps running because the building is in an act. It's actively being destroyed by Godzilla. There's an interaction there. The monster fight, same thing, same logic. So we see Godzilla, maybe uses atomic breath. The camera cuts to a monster getting hit by his atomic breath and flying into a mountain. The clock keeps running. It keeps counting, man, because this is what I want to see in a Godzilla film anyway. So But on the other hand, if you have some monsters fighting each other, and Godzilla's not around or not in the shot, then that doesn't count. The clock stops. Now, what if we cut away to human beings? Because this is the big one. What if Godzilla's stomping around and then we cut to some humans in their base of operations, like looking, trying to figure out what's going on? Oh, the clock stops every time that happens, right? I don't want to see that in my fight scenes. And, most of the cutaways to humans will result in clock stoppage, unless they're, like, in a plane and they're shooting at him or something like that, or in a mecha shooting at him. And then I'll give a little bit of leeway. So there is some subjectivity here, but I'm trying to be as consistent as possible. However, in all of this, I'm implementing basically a 5-second limit to the cutaway shots, where you don't see Godzilla. So even if Godzilla is engaging in battle, you can't cut away from him for huge periods of time and continue to have it count in the runtime count. So I think the strategy makes some sense. I might tweak it if I redo these things, and maybe if I do it again, I'll find some mistakes I made. But I looked at my preliminary results for the Showa era, which is almost done now, rewatching, and there are some huge differences in Godzilla screen and battle time for some of those movies. And it put it in perspective. I'm like, wow, that movie does have a lot more action than I remember, when I really think about it here. So I think it does help to put things in perspective. And I'll reveal those as I review each film, and maybe do a video after the fact just showing, the rankings of which movies had the most action in it, or Godzilla screen time. So the next few months are going to be a good time for everyone to focus on the Godzilla franchise. I mean, there are already some really good videos and reviews up on YouTube from other people. I know Cinemassacre reviewed a bunch of the Japanese films like 10 plus years ago, and I think most of those are on YouTube. Daisuke Beppu went through the entire Showa era films and the Criterion set and then ranked them. Lady Phatblood did her top 10 Godzilla movie video with some honorable mentions. And then Rob from ETN reviewed all the Japanese films and the Hollywood films years ago when the 2014 film came out. So I'm actually going to include links in the description box to all those reviews and playlists, because I think it's it's time where we can all revisit the films, talk about them, and it's now or never with this new one coming out. So it's going to be pretty fun. So I hope you enjoy it, and as always, we will see you next time.